Okay, it is May 4th. It is our monthly team call. My name is Dee Corchin. I'm glad you took time out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight. So we've got a great topic. Got some of the health coaches on our team that are going to share with us, and also a client. But we're going to talk about the important step of transition, and so many of us, we come into this and we're excited about our journey and we start losing weight and everything's going great, but it gets a little scary to think about the future. And so we just thought we'd go ahead and hit on this topic. I know a few people on the call are actually very close to transition. I know one's actually going to be starting very, very soon. And you might even just be on your first day. But I think that the more you understand what's coming and what it looks like, and learn to trust in the process, just like you've learned that our weight loss program works so well. I think once you do that and you trust in the process, it'll be much easier to move into this and do it successfully. And it really is a critical part of the journey. So we'll be speaking more to that. Before I go any further, I'm going to have Vicki Feldman speak. Vicki is a regional director on our team, which just means health coach, that she helps a lot of people. And Vicki, if you'll just share some of your wisdom with us about mindset and transition and some of your experience with coaching clients.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, if you could talk just a little louder.
All right, hang on, and I apologize, but I'm actually driving, so I'm just going to do the best I can, because I actually made some notes that I wanted to look at, which clearly I'm not going to look at while I'm driving. So to your point, Dee, about it being scary, I think, and I know personally, before I went through transition, I really liked the cocoon of being on the 5 and 1, and I was very nervous about deviating from that because I felt good, it was working, and kind of stepping outside the lines was somewhat anxiety provoking. And I think that the weight loss program, when you're in that 5 and 1, or you're in that 4 and 2, and you're in that fat burn, and it's very predictable results, all of a sudden you've arrived at your goal and you still want to stay there. And I think that there's some really important things about working with your coach in going through transition. And I've had, I'd like to say probably more than a handful of clients that have just sort of done it on their own. They're just like, I'm good, I can figure out what I need. And 9 times out of 10, I'm getting that phone call saying, I need to go back on the 5 and 1. And I should have listened to you, and I should have really gone through transition right. And I think it almost parallels going on the 5 and 1, or starting this health journey, because we all pretty much arrived here at the same point where we all thought we could do it ourselves. And obviously it's a bit more challenging these days to do it ourselves, which is why the structure of the program is so great. And I think equally the structure of the transition and then into maintenance is just as paramount as the program. And the reality is, there's this magic number you have in your head that you're going to get to, and then you get there, and then what? Because we never really try, you don't wake up every day and see that same number on the scale. Even during when people are, on the plan, there's always little fluctuations that occur, and that's just part of being human and going through the process. So I think to give yourself some wiggle room, so that you don't have an emotional response to a pound up or 2 pounds up, realizing, I like to think of it as kind of a teeter-totter, or the stock market, you have little fluctuations that will happen, but as long as you can kind of, have a range that you feel is acceptable for you, that's a good strategy to hit. I think a couple of bullet points that I would point out is that, first of all, it is important to talk to your health coach and have a plan. Just like you would have a plan if you're going on a vacation and you're on the 5 and 1, how you're going to handle that. So I think it's really important to have a plan. I also think that I like to think of them as sort of the benchmarks of the program that got you successfully where you are in terms of getting your goal. Those pieces don't ever, it's like the anchors, the anchors, they never really leave you. Being able to focus on still eating 6 times a day, whether that's 4 and 2, 3 and 3, 5 and 1, however you want to make that happen. It's having the fueling to be able to kindle the fire, to keep your body in as steady of a of a glycemic state as you can without all of those fluctuations. I think also refocusing back on your why. Why did you start the program? What was important to you? What was your goal? Why did you want that? The passion with what forged you on has to be that same passion that keeps you once you have arrived. I think that all the habits that you learn along the way, which goes back to the habits of health. So it's not just about the fueling, but it's about the water, it's about the sleep, it's about all the other healthy things that you have hopefully started adding to your repertoire of just living and creating a healthy life. Those are the things you want to hang on to. I do think that there will always be challenges. I think that's how I look at it, is that you never fully arrive. There's always going to be challenges. So again, working with your health coach, figuring out what's your exercise, your activity level, what your goal weight is, what caloric your needs are, following that structure, which I think somebody else is going to kind of talk about tonight. But all the things that you learned, not letting go of those once you begin the transition, that most of those things you still want to hang on to. And I can speak personally for myself, 4 years out, I'm very intentional every day. Doesn't mean I'm 100% every day, but I'm still intentional, and I kind of know when to reel back, and I try and get all those healthy habits, although, sleep and water still works in progress for me. But I think that everybody will find things that they struggle with, and those are the things you just want to make lifelong things that you strive to improve upon.
That's perfect, Vicki. Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm going to mute you. Thanks so much. That was awesome. And so she's exactly right. I mean, I think if the biggest message I heard there was the two things we're going to do is, as we're moving forward, so right now you're in the weight loss stage, right? You came to this program because we knew that we probably weren't having success on our own. So we knew that we needed some structure, we needed accountability, we need community. And that doesn't go away. I mean, there can be a human response that we think, well, okay, let me just use this for now, and then I got this. But it never works out well. Vicki said 4 years coaching, I've been 6 years, and I will say that the program is designed as it is for a reason. So we want you to trust in the process. So when would you be ready for transition? Okay. In an ideal world, you're going to be ready for transition when you've reached your goal weight, right? So when you first met with your coach, you set up a target weight. Hopefully not the weight you just got comfortable with because you don't feel like pushing further. We're going to really challenge you and help you get to your goal weight, because there was a reason you set that as your goal weight initially. And if that's the case, we're going to assume at that point that you're what we call an integrated client. And what an integrated client means is that you've got a connection with your health coach. I mean, obviously I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are on this call, but you're connected, right? So you're not trying to be a lone ranger with this. And a big part of that means that you followed the plan, you followed the structure, and you've been involved in the Habits of Health education. And that can be through the book and the workbook. It can be through the weekly webinars, the Habits of Health webinars that are available. But I don't want you to miss me saying that, all right? It can be so easy because our lives are crazy, crazy busy. It can be so easy that when you get this plan that works, and it's pretty much a no-brainer, let me grab my 5 fuelings, let me have my lean and green, I'm good to go. I'll get to those books later. I'll watch that webinar later. I'll do whatever. The reason that's part of the process is we're working on the behavioral piece of it, but we're also starting to educate on the glycemic index, learning to decipher what kind of foods are going to fit best, et cetera, in maintenance. So that's why we talk about that, why your coach hopefully is bringing that up to you on a regular basis, because it really is integral for success. And I just want to clarify, tonight we are only talking about the transition process. So going from the structured weight loss plan, transitioning off that to use, into what your maintenance is going to look like. Next month's call will be specifically on maintenance. Last year we did a call about this time. We tried to combine both topics and it was just too much information. So the times you would need maintenance would be hopefully when you've reached your healthy weight. The other time to reach maintenance is if you've got any crazy thoughts in your head that maybe you don't want to do this anymore, or you don't want to follow the eating plan anymore. What we don't want to do is just abandon what we're doing today and go back to doing something else or create something else, because you have been in a fat burning state. We've been operating at a lower caloric rate. So we have to go through that transition process to get your metabolism to where it needs to be to function off glycogen again. So even if you weren't at your goal weight, or if you decided, you know what, I'm 10 pounds from my goal weight, but I'm okay here, we want to go through the transition. And speaking to that, coaching for a long time, I will tell you, sometimes it happens, especially if you have a large weight loss goal. You know, you've lost maybe 30 pounds and you really wanted to lose 40, but 30 feels really good. So suddenly you're kind of hanging out at 30 and it's 5 and 1 plus a few things and whatnot. And so you've kind of got one foot on the curb and one foot on the bus. And in that situation, your coach is going to be talking to you about, like, let's make a decision. Let's either transition or let's, you know, continue with the weight loss program, but you can't really hang out in between. It just doesn't work out well. And then sometimes if you get in the very last stages of your goal, just a couple of pounds, let's say you're 3 to 4 pounds away, you don't usually have a lot of extra body fat on your body. So sometimes the fat burning approach doesn't really work as effectively for those last few pounds. So working with your coach and working with nutrition support, it may happen that you actually start the transition process a little bit earlier, because sometimes adding those extra calories in can actually move the scale at what we want. It seems weird, but it can actually work. But what the next step would be, so we're going to assume that you've reached your healthy weight, you've been doing your education, you're good to go, and we've even if it's reluctantly said, okay, I'm ready to move to transition. What I'm going to do is hope this works. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm first going to take you to your coach's page. It's going to be my page, and I want to show you how we calculate your TEE, which is your total energy expenditure. And so what that means is that this is going to be what it's going to take based on your age, your weight, your height, male or female, activity level, basically what you can expect, what your daily caloric need is going to be when you are on maintenance. So when you're going through transition, that's what we're doing, is we're going to start the process of building you up to what that caloric intake is and adding food groups you haven't been eating. So give me a second here to hope this works. And all right, Shirley, nod your head. Can you see my screen? Yeah, all right. So I am on Coach's website. If you want to go and do this on your own and do a walkthrough, it would be a really good exercise. But basically, I'm on my page under our programs. So you'll see it talks about the optimal weight 5 and 1 plan. There's also the optimal weight 3 and 3 plan, and I'll explain that in a second. But if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see we describe the weight loss plan, and then over here, this is a plan that can help you that can be used for maintenance, the optimal 3 and 3 plan. So within this, we actually have a really cool calculator that we can use on total energy expenditure, and we'll just make one up right now. So let's say we had a female, 130 pounds, 5'5", and we'll say she's 53. The next question is, it's going to ask you about activity level. Sedentary, this would mean that you're just basically doing your day, not a lot of intentional exercise. Slightly active, light exercise, or 1 to 3 days a week. Moderately active, etc. I will tell you from experience, I tend to go conservative on this and round down, because I'd rather start lower on somebody's calories than give them too much too soon. So for myself, I mean, I exercise most days of the week. 3 days are intense, others are not. I would probably go with, if it was me, I would go with slightly active for it. So to calculate the TEE, so my daily caloric intake, if this was me, would be 1646. So 1,646 calories. Really not that much. If you think about it in the course of a day, that's what it would take for somebody, this height, this weight, this age, that's about what it is. The actual weight loss plan you're on right now, of course, we're using a fat burn state, but it's about, 850 to 1,000 calories a day. So you can see how the food groups will change, and it may look different, but the daily caloric need is fairly low. And then what you can look over here, we actually have sample menu plans. And this is for maintenance, not transition, but sample menu plans, like a 1,600 calorie menu plan, and what that could look like. All right. And I know it's probably hard to read on my screen, but in this one, you'll see where it's like, it's a a breakfast with some cereal, some low-fat milk, some strawberries, having one of our products as a mid-morning, having some chicken and vegetables for lunch, maybe a little bit of dairy, then, maybe a smoothie in the afternoon. So you're still eating 6 times a day, but you'll see you can have things that you haven't necessarily been eating, during the weight loss stage. So that is what that looks like. And then what I want to do is actually walk you through the process. So we know that this person needs to get to 1646 in calories. So the next thing I want to show you is what the actual transition looks like. And when you're ready to transition, your coach will share this information with you, and you'll have it. But basically right now, you're eating, for most of us, we're eating 6 times a day. We're eating 5 MetaFast meals and 1 lean and green. So our transition process is 4 weeks. And here's what we're doing in 4 weeks and why this is so important. The first thing we're doing is we are going to pull you out of fat burn, get you back to burning glycogen for energy, but we are going to stair step it. We're going to raise your caloric intake by about 100 calories a day on a weekly basis. And this is so that your metabolism can keep up with it, right? So we're re-stimulating the metabolism to get to this higher caloric rate. I don't know if you've had an experience, but sometimes it's happened before where somebody might be on plan, the 5 and 1, and then they jump off and maybe they have, on vacation or a weekend and they eat, let's say it's Cinco de Mayo, and they decide to have margaritas and chips and salsa, and suddenly they gave their system 2,000 calories or more. Metabolism can't take that right away. It's like a shock to the system. If you've ever seen somebody lose weight and gain it back really, really fast, it's usually because they went right back, they yo-yoed right back to their old habits, and their metabolism could not keep up. So this was developed, by science. So we're going to intentionally do that. And the other thing that we're doing is we're going to add in these food groups that you haven't been eating. So the first week of transition, you're going to be eating 5 of the fuel lanes. You're going to have your lean and green, and then we're going to add in a cup or 2 servings of whatever vegetable you want. I know it sounds like, woo, another vegetable, but this could be things like Brussels sprouts. It could be carrots. It could be, it could be some sweet potato. I mean, we're going to teach you towards low glycemic options. Could be a black bean, but it's some of that stuff. So because you will be eating again, if that's your fear, you will be eating again, but we'll teach you what choices are going to serve your body best and how to pair it with protein so you keep your blood sugar stable. The next week, you keep doing that, okay? So your coach will check in with you. How did that go? What's it look like on the scale? Should be fine. And then the next week, we're going to continue doing that, continue eating those vegetables, and then we add in 2 servings of fruit, okay? So it's 2 medium pieces of fruit or, cupped fruit if it's like berries or something. But we do take away one of the MetaFast fuelings or the Optavia fuelings. So you'll see here how your calories are going up, by 100 for the week. The next week, the same thing. You're going to keep it. It's 4 fuelings, 1 lean and green. And now these are going to start to fill in as your extra snacks, but you have vegetables, you have fruit, and we're going to put in dairy. So we haven't been eating dairy in a while. So what I love about this stair-step approach and doing it for a full week is it's almost like an elimination diet that you've been on. So when you put this back in, some of these food groups back in, it's a great learning opportunity for us to see, how does your body respond? How do you feel? Are you starting to get hunger and cravings again? Did you eat a banana and think wow, that was a rush of blood sugar, and I was starving in an hour. Maybe we realize, oh, okay, that means you're highly sensitive to that. We need to eat more berries than high glycemic. So that's what we're working through. Dairy can be a category I find very often when people get to dairy that they experience bloating, cramping, gas, and they're like, whoa, I had no idea before when I had those symptoms, I had no idea it was the dairy, so maybe that's something you choose not to do on a regular basis. I mean, this is just all individual, but at least and then it goes on from there to the final week of it. And see this one, you're getting up to about 1,500 calories, depending on what you choose to eat. So you're basically eating 3 of the fuel lanes, 1 lean and green. And we're going to add in those healthy starches with this one. So this can be your brown rice, quinoa, bread, whole grain bread if you want. And this is another game changer. Like for me, when I went back to those kind of carbs, I noticed my cravings went up big time. So I had to make personally a personal decision that just wasn't going to be a part of my everyday life. It doesn't mean that I don't have them sometimes, but just not on a regular basis, because I'm really being sensitive to how my body responds. So your coach would go through this with you. And like I said, you'll have conversations. Your coach is going to hold your hand every week through this and beyond. And then when we get to the end of this 4 weeks, then we're basically, what you're looking at is that you'll be in a position where you've got all these food groups. You're eating 3 fuelings a day, and you can put these other things together in however combination you want. And we have those sample meal plans. Also, chapter 12 in Dr. A's Habits of Health has really great information on meal plans. In fact, chapters 8 through 12 are your resource for all of this. So that being said, if you're not at your goal weight, maybe you're a male that needs to get up to 2,300 calories. Well, your coach will work with you, and then week by week by week, we're going to take the calories up to get there. Again, not to shock the system. Now, what we have found, like Take Shape for Life has been around with coaching for 17 years. And what we have found with our clients is that in an ideal world, the goal is that with the education you've received, that we will be able to transition and that you could eat, and you'll be prepared to eat all 6 fuelings with all whole foods from the grocery store, right? Like, and ideally organic, non-GMO, like that is the ideal, the epitome. But what we have found over all this time is that there's 2 things that happen. Like for me personally, if that was me and it was a 1,600 calorie threshold, that doesn't leave me a lot of room, to be eating. Like I personally use about 2 to sometimes 3, depending on how busy I am, fuelings a day, because I can get a lot of nutrition, but they're only 100 calories, so that's a way that I can eat bigger at my meals and just use 100 calories in between. That's going to be a personal choice with you and your coach. We also have optimal health products for somebody who has a higher caloric need, somebody who's extremely active, or a male, some of higher caloric ones that are like in the 200 calorie range for maintenance. It is going to be your choice. But what we have found is that the situations that brought us to being overweight and needing this program, usually those situations are we live very, very busy lifestyles, and we need grab and go and convenience. And that generally doesn't go away during the weight loss program. So what we have found is that most clients are successful because of the fact that they take that into consideration, and they keep the structure. And so that's why they created the maintenance programs. And your maintenance may be 3 and 3. It might be, just 2 fuelings a day. It might be 1, but you'll work with your coach on that. So what I wanted to do next is I wanted to go ahead and take a minute, and Susan Giesland, if you will, I'll unmute you. And if you'll take a second to introduce Sandy, who's been doing a bang up job with her maintenance, or her transition and maintenance, and let her share about her transition.
Great, I'd love to. Sandy started the program the beginning of the year, and she followed the Habits of Health structure. We checked in regularly. She followed the 5 and 1. She learned the habits of health, and she was very active in our community and their support groups. She quickly reached her goal weight of over 30 pounds. And so we made the decision to transition her. She's also very, very active. She works out a lot. She works out with me in Jazzercise. She also has outside sports, tennis, pickleball. And so she was very, very active. So with her particular situation, we did the transition. We followed it exactly. And she was very meticulous in keeping notes on things like that. So she's been great. She's been on maintenance for, I think, 7 weeks now. So I will let her kind of go into what she's faced during transition. So can you unmute her, or should you want me to do that? I can't hear you. I think she's on. Yeah. Sandy, are you unmuted? Uh-oh. I see her, but I don't see her.
Oh, can you hear me now?
There she is. Yes.
Okay. All right. Hi. Yeah, it's Susan asked me to speak a little bit tonight about my transition, the experience, the fears, and what I've learned through it. I mean, it like she said, I've been on the maintenance now for about 7 weeks. So by following the program, and I created journals as I went along, it helped me to go back. Because you know, as I was doing it and going through the transition, I remember, you know, you get used to, okay, we've got the 5-in-1. I only have to come up with one lean and green meal. You know, the rest of it's just easy. So, you know, some of my fears were like, oh my gosh, am I going to gain all this weight back that I've, you know, worked so hard to lose? I mean, how do I do this now to go from 5-in-1, you know, to a 4-in-2 to a 3-in-3? Am I able to eat some of the things that I see out there on, you know, some of the recipes? I'm like, am I able to eat that? How in the world do I calculate my TEE? I'm like, what in the world? So, and what will happen, you know, after I get out of this fat burning state? So those were some of the things that I was sort of contemplating, you know, as I was going through the transition. But Susan worked with me, and with the program, you, by just taking it 1 week at a time, you know, you add, you know, the more veggies, you know, into first week, and then the second week I think was fruit, then the dairy, and then the wheat. You know, it just sort of walked you through it, because I know trying to just even go to the grocery store and go, okay, let's see here, you know, I've worked so hard for this, I want to make sure that I'm, you know, continuing to eat healthy. So I went back, and one of the things I did is, when I was going through the program, is I read the book first pretty much, and then went back and started filling in my workbook, which was a good refresher for me as I went through transition, to sort of see, you know, what I needed to do in order to get through it. So you know, that was some of my fears and some of my experiences. One of the things that I've learned through all this is it taught me to try new things. You know, I tried lots of new recipes and going through the transition, because like all of a sudden I'm like, oh wow, I can add more vegetables. How can I add more vegetables? What can I cook to make, you know, add the vegetables or the fruit or some of the other different things out there. It really helped me to journal, you know, by even now going back to see where I'm at, where I was. By the transition, it helped me become aware. Like I believe Dee was talking, how all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I haven't had dairy in 7 weeks. Wow. Okay. You know, this is what my body's feeling now as I'm eating this, or the fruit, or going back to some of the, you know, wheats and grains and stuff. So it made you do more aware of that. Also, it gave me the ability as I transitioned to look forward to getting that piece of fruit or that banana that I hadn't had, or that apple. And I found that eating some of these healthy things was more filling than some of the things I'd been on in the past, you know, and how my taste had changed over the 7 weeks. I think I was on the program before I started doing the transition. And then just by going through the transition, it also gave me some motivation, because, you know, I worked to get to this. Now I'm, you know, this is just the next chapter in, or phase in what I'm trying to accomplish. And also you get some accountability. You know, I felt like other people were starting to really notice. And now, you know, I'm feeling better, and my family's noticing. So it just gave me that accountability as I continue from the transition into the maintenance stage of where I'm at now. So I just figure every day is a new process. So that's why I like the journal and just keeping up with it, you know, and I mean, I can't say enough about it. I don't know, is there any other
No, that was
questions,
perfect,
thoughts?
Sandy. Yeah, no, I think it was perfect. And I mean, I love, you know, what I loved, I heard is that, you know, you just followed the process, right? And you're happy. You're on the other side of it. You're, you know, 7 weeks or whatever maintaining. And you followed the process, you journaled, you paid attention to how you were feeling, you pulled that workbook back out. And it's these little things, these incremental things that we do that make the difference. It really does. And we're in it, we're in the trenches with you. We're here for the long haul. I heard you say you relied with Susan. And I know what you're thinking, like, you didn't tell me when wine comes back in, or you didn't tell me whatever. So hang tight, because we're going to talk about maintenance next month. And so our next call is always the first Thursday of every month. So it'll be the first Thursday in June. That topic will be maintenance. And your coaching relationship doesn't go away during maintenance or all that. We set you up for success, so you'll want to tune in. Now, here's the key thing, and I have not mentioned this yet. The absolute best thing, we have a study through Johns Hopkins that shows that clients that become health coaches, even if they are just coaching, 1, 2, or 3 people, they are 5 times more successful in maintaining their weight loss. So your coach has probably had a conversation with you around it. It may or may not be a fit for you, but that is a staggering statistic to pay attention to. And the likelihood is that there's going to be somebody in your world at some point that's going to want to do this program, and maybe doing it with them will help you. And the best quote I heard around that was that it's really hard to fall backwards when we are helping somebody else move forward. So speaking of coaching, thank you guys for your time tonight. I did want to remind you that our national convention is July 20th to the 23rd, and it is open to clients this year. Registration is open, special registration rate for clients. The benefits for going for you is that they're going to have a special track of learning workshops for clients, how to optimize your health, how to optimize this plan, transition, maintenance, and much of that will be taught by Dr. A himself. So it's a really rare opportunity to really immerse yourself in a healthy community for a weekend, and really just see what that's all about and what it could do for your future. So we would love to have you with us. Otherwise, we are going to roll directly into our coaching call. We're going to be talking about transition and working with our coaches and our newer coaches around that. You guys are welcome to stay on if you want to see what we're all about. What does a coaching call look like? Stay on. If not, go ahead on the lower right hand side of your screen. It says leave meeting, and go ahead and leave the meeting, and work with your coach on your transition. But thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. All right, so into our coaching section, and I'm going to go ahead and well, I won't unmute yet because the odds are we'll get too much feedback. But what I'd like to do is really maybe start with what your questions are around transition, either for yourself, because number one, I think we're always in the best position to coach our clients when we are comfortable with our own health journey and really leading with our own health. Or what kind of questions do you have about guiding clients, or what kind of resources do you use? I have info prepared, but I'd rather hear from you first. All right, I will unmute. We'll see what happens. Anybody? Susan, you've done a great job, obviously with Sandy, but I'm sure you've had challenges too with coaching clients, or maybe clients that haven't made it to their goal weight yet, and maybe want to, not do it anymore. Like, can you just give us a little bit about what your experience has been? Because you've been coaching for a long time.
I think, I've had it like you have, I'm sure, all over the spectrum. You get the clients like Sandy that have hit their goal weight and they transition and they follow the program exactly like it's written. And then they see the benefits of following that program and why it's written the way it's written. But then you have the clients that they get about 10 pounds, maybe 20 pounds from their goal, and they start to kind of go off. I say, it's sort of like when you go down a highway and say, like, if you live here in this area, you go down 400 and you're going to, let's say, Buckhead, which is straight down 400. Well, if you keep getting off the exits, it's going to take you a very long time to get where you want to go. And, so it's trying to keep them focused on staying on the 501 to get to their goal. I think one of my favorite lines was, do you want to do meta fast or meta slow? I don't say that very often, but I think it in my head. But, I do have, in fact, I have a client right now that she's very close to her goal. And then she just, okay, I'm at my goal. And I try to impart on them the importance of the transition process. And I tell them everything. But sometimes they just want to do it their own way. And so then they come back. Like, I've had some clients come back and said, I should have listened to you at the beginning because I gained 10 pounds, and so then we work through it again. But if I can continue that conversation with clients, and you're all going to get clients that don't return your phone calls, don't return your texts, don't return your emails for whatever reason. And you know, that's their choice. You know, we're here to be a guide for them on their journey. We're not here to, you know, pull them or push them. But it's important that when you have clients that are stuck, that are bored, that are tired of it, that just want to do their own thing, it's important to really talk to them about transition. I was reading the transition guide that we have available to us in the program guides. It's lengthy in a sense. It's worth going through it. But it gives the importance of adding in slowly, like Dee said at the client part of it, because of what it does to your metabolism. But the other thing that's in the client, or the transition maintenance, is you probably all know what the B-Slim stands for. And I try to impart that on my clients that even are just sort of doing their own thing.
That, the B-Slim, like everybody knows.
Yeah, it's an acronym. Is that a correct term? I think it's the correct term. But B-Slim is an acronym. B meaning breakfast is very, very important to have every day. That breaks the fast of sleeping overnight when you're not eating. The E is exercise, and how important it is to have, you know, regular exercise for the maintenance of your weight loss, not for weight loss itself, but to maintain that weight loss and to continue those habits of health. That motion is very, very important for doing. The S is support, and that is either support from a family member, support from a friend, hopefully support from us as their health coach. But the support is very important. It's like Sandy had saying, that accountability of, you know, staying true to what your health goals are. The L is the eating program. It's the 5 to 6 low fat, low glycemic, smaller calorie meals a day to keep that blood sugar as stable as possible. And then the I is the individual plan. You know, have a plan for yourself. Some people require more calories because of either their age or their activity level, but have a plan. And M is monitor, and monitoring is so important, because if we don't know where we're at, you know where we're going, right? So I try to educate my clients that it's very important to understand why we have B-Slim, what it means, you know, because we can carry that forward through transition and through maintenance. So a lot of times when your clients don't want to continue with the 5, they're bored or whatever, so we have options. We can move them to a 4 and 2, which I've done with some clients, 4 fuelings, 2 lean and greens. But I do tell my clients that, yes, you can lose weight on this, but you do need to increase your activity a little bit. And that works especially with clients that already exercise a lot. Like Sandy, for instance, I had to move her to a 4 and 2. Because for a while she wasn't losing weight because she was exercising too much. She just loved it. She had so much energy in fat burn. She just was burning it off. And then the other one is a 3 and 3, is educate your clients on what a 3 and 3 is. The 3 breakfast, lunch, dinner, the 3 fuelings in between, so that they understand the importance of eating that 5 to 6 times a day. And then I also always tell my clients, read this, like Dee said, read chapters 8 through 11, because that's going to be key. You've worked so hard to lose the weight you've already lost. You've spent time, you've spent money with, you know, all of that. Let's try to get the benefit and the most out of it. So the chapters 8 through 11 on the habits of health are so key. And there's actually, I think we have them, those, the guidelines, the color-coded charts. I think we have those available in our websites.
Yeah, or the glycemic charts, yeah.
Those are so helpful. I send those to my clients, or I tell them where to find it. I try to, you know, empower them to find them themselves. But these are different options for your clients, because it's so important they don't quit cold turkey. They'll be frustrated. And so just educating them on different options that we have for them. If they are at a weight, and just, you know, Dee educated me. She said, you know, ask your clients, are you happy where you're at? Do you want to transition? Because the last thing you want to do is have your clients just totally go cold turkey and go back to eating, because they'll gain it back. And that doesn't really reflect well on us as health coaches when that happens, to be honest with you. We want to serve our clients as best as we can. And so, you know, ultimately it's their decisions, of course, but we want to help them out as best we can. So keeping that communication with your client is very key, and giving them those options. 4 and 2 work great for some of my clients. You know, they liked having lunch and dinner. they liked having that. So that's an option there. And the last thing, and the most, well, I think one of the most important things is nutrition support. If you're just not sure, do a 3-way call with your client nutrition support. Ask them. They will help you tremendously through that situation. So always utilize your support and your resources with the company for sure.
Yeah, that's really, you said a lot of good things. And I did want to say, if somebody is on the 4 and 2 plan, if you have an avid exerciser or somewhere along the way that's been determined to be the plan for them, there is a transition plan for them. There's a very similar transition plan for them, but it looks a little bit different. And that information is in Simple Systems. I am trying to unify our processes for our team. And, as far as like, what does it look like when you sign up a new client? What are the steps that we follow for that? And so being that we're on this topic, I've actually come up with like kind of a checklist on coaching your client through transition. What are the resources we have available to send to them? But like, even in conversation, it just dawned on me like, oh, those glycemic charts, we should mention those. So I'm going to add that to it. But basically we have some steps for you to follow. But I think the biggest challenge is exactly what Susan was talking about with clients, because you're going to, we know that people making transformation in their lives, it's a big deal, right? And it's hard. And sometimes clients just decide they don't want to go through it. They don't, want to go fight the fight. And so then they want to, they want to Jones, they want to leave. And early in my coaching career, I would just be like really disappointed for them and just go, well, okay, I'm here if you need me. But my conversations look very different now. So usually if somebody's struggling on the program, like Susan said, like what I'll generally do is say, well, what can you do? What could you, what part of this are you struggling with? And what part of it, what could you do going forward? Because it gives me the opportunity to reinforce the 6 meals a day, low glycemic, like that's not going away. So what's it going to look like? And so maybe it can go to a 4 and 2. Maybe I can get them on a 3 and 3. And transition may not be perfect because I'll use words like, okay, well, do you want me to just go ahead and start your transition? And they're like, no, I want to just leave. But, I can at least get into the conversation. What's hard is if you have a client that, they've already been eating pizza and cookies and blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, hey, you can't just say like, now you can have some vegetables. That's just not going to work. So with that individual, we're going to have to move them. We want to keep them in the structure. But I have found after years of coaching like this and talking about it early in the process, guide your clients to the materials, to the books. Now, they don't want to pick up the books, but I have found that they'll tune into these calls. They'll tune into the weekly Habit of Health call, especially if it's something, relative to maybe something they're going through. So the more we can do that and integrate our clients, the less they'll think of it as a diet of something that they go on and off of. And I will say the more that you coach your clients like that, and if they keep structure in their program, follow the 3 and 3, use meal replacements, fuelings, they do come back. Like even if they, didn't make it to their goal weight, like Susan said, they will come back. Like if they felt like we've done a good job, but like they didn't necessarily do their part of it, they'll come back because they go and try to do it on their own and they realize it didn't work. But I feel like it's got to be bigger than just the 5 and 1, and we have to be really careful. I still find myself coaching to just the weight loss plan if I'm not careful. It's just real easy to get in that habit of only just talking about the weight loss plan and not bringing them to the bigger picture. But just to give you an idea of some of the things, you saw some of the tools that I was showing where you could bring your client to, the TEE and all that. That's just really good. Let the tool do the work for you, right? But in the Simple Systems, we usually reserve this for senior coach or higher, but I think everybody on the call generally is at that or has been coaching for a while. But simplesystemcoaches.com, simplesystemscoaches.com, tons of resources. When I have this checklist, I'll have it all embedded in there. But basically, there's a short 13-minute video now that's available that we can send to our clients about transition. There is the transition guide that Susan was talking about. That's actually under revision right now for Optavia. There is a letter. Julie Apple has a really great email that we can send our clients to prepare them for it. So we do have some tools that we can use. And like Susan said, I think that the best thing to do is if you're ever uncertain, bring your client to nutrition support. And sometimes even them hearing it's the same thing from a third party, it can just, validate it, or they say it differently and it makes more sense to them. So those would be the tools. The other is that statistic about coaching and their weight loss. We know coaching is not a fit for everybody, but we do want to at least present that to those that we know that are really invested in the process, really concerned about their outcome. If it's somebody that you think you would want to work with, we definitely want to be encouraging that, because years of coaching, I will tell you, that can really be a game changer for whether or not somebody is successful in the long run. So questions about all of that? Okay, so Debbie's leaving us, her internet's not good. Any questions? You can unmute yourself. Okay, well, that's good for that. We, if you're not on the Agents of Transformation Facebook page, that's really our best resource right now for getting new and updated information from the company. So if you're a newer coach or whatever, make sure you're on the Agents of Transformation Facebook page. I just posted a video today in our Team Courtchin page from Jamil Frazier. It's a short 5-minute video about convention, and he's a great guy. I mean, his whole story is phenomenal, but he had actually quit in 2 weeks of doing the program or coaching because he had kind of come out of the chute and was trying to do it his own way and got very frustrated and whatever. And he went to his first convention, and 7 months later was a global. Now he's an integrated presidential. So if you're on the fence about convention or thinking you're not going to go because it's not of value, that is worth watching, because he did not have the money or the time to go and made time for it. And our next call will be June 4th. And no, is that the date? No, first Thursday in June. I'm not sure what that date is, but first Thursday. And if we're doing the book club, we talked about the book club. We're reading the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Everybody is welcome. We just decided that as a team, anybody who wants to participate, every 60 days, we're going to read a book, a business book, and then do a forum just like this to have a discussion. So we're reading Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect, and we'll be meeting on the third Thursday of every month. So that'll be I think the 18th of this month. All right. So otherwise, it is getting late. Hopefully you guys like that we pack it all in one night, but it does get run a little long. You probably all need to go use the restroom, right? So thanks for taking time, guys, and I'm always around for questions. See ya.